Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome or welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. So I read a total of 12 books in the month of August. I think I loved most of them, if not pretty much all of them, so that's really exciting. And I also have some reading vlogs for some of the books, which I'll let you know as we get to them, but I'm actually really excited to do this video, so let's just jump right on in. So the first book that I read in the month of August was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. This was a reread for me, and if you don't know what this series is about, we basically follow our main character Feyre, and she has to hunt for her family so that they can have food to eat. And one day she sees a wolf in the forest, and she knows that it's a fae, and so she decides to shoot him and kill him. And then a high fae comes to her door and basically says, you broke the treaty or something, so you can either, I think, die, was the rule, or you can come and live with me in the Fae world. So she decides to live in the Fae world, so it's kind of just all about that. I love this book so much. It's such a good sequel. It's definitely my favorite in the entire series. I just loved it so much. I feel like I just appreciated this book so much more the second time around, because when I first read it, it was kind of like a very stilted reading experience. I started it, I think, right when it came out, and then I just would occasionally pick it up, and then I think I actually finished it almost a year after its release. And so it was just a very stilted reading experience, whereas this time I read it much quicker, in a matter of a couple of days, and I just loved it so much. I was just able to get a better picture and idea of what this book actually was about and what was happening. And I love Feyre and Rhys a lot. I love these cast of characters, and I think I felt so much more connected to them this time around. I remember when I was reading it last time, the first time, I didn't quite understand, or I didn't quite know all the characters that well. I just didn't really pay attention, or I just kept forgetting because of that stilted reading experience that I had. So I wasn't that connected to the side characters. But this time around, I fell head over heels in love with them. I really enjoyed this book. It is an amazing sequel, and the best sequels I've read, I think. So I'm really happy that I decided to reread this book, and I'm just really happy that I loved it. The next book that I read was Finale by Stephanie Garber. I actually listened to this on audiobook, and I'm so happy that I've finally completed this series. This has been a really fun series to read this year, and this book was no different. So if you don't know what this series is about, we basically follow our main characters Scarlet and Tella. They're sisters. So basically there's this event that takes place called Caraval, and it's basically this big game thrown by this person named Legend, and it's notorious for being this huge, big, crazy, magical thing. It's always been Scarlet's dream to attend Caraval. She's written numerous letters to Legend asking her to be invited, and he's never listened until one day he finds out about her engagement, and he decides to invite her to Caraval. And it's just this beautiful story. This world is so lush and vivid and so imaginative. It's just such a cool world. I think one of the coolest worlds I've read about in a while. I also really enjoy the characters. This one is told in both Scarlet and Tella's point of view, which I enjoyed, because the first book's all in Scarlet's point of view, the second book is all in Tella's point of view, and I really liked getting a balance of both of the sisters in this book. However, I do feel with this book there was a little bit of that whimsy missing from the story, because we weren't in Caraval. There is no Caraval going on in this book, and so I felt some of that whimsy was kind of missing. So I was really enjoying the game of Caraval and the other two books. So for it to be missing in this one, it was still enjoyable. I just kind of missed Caraval a little bit, but it's kind of in the Hunger Games, where the first two books are in the games and then the third one isn't. It's gonna be too repetitive if they're always in a game, so it makes sense. I just kind of missed it a little bit. The funny thing is with this book is I think I'm more invested in the relationship in the book than anything else, and not even the individual characters, just the relationships. I love them so much, and I'm so invested in them, and I want to know what's gonna happen with them and how it's gonna all play out, and I want to see scenes with them together. I like the characters themselves too. I just think I'm more invested in each other as a pair for some reason. I don't really know, but I really liked the romance in this series and in this book. So many things happened with them in this book, and it was it kept me on my seat the entire time. Overall, this book was really fun and enjoyable, as was the entire series, and I just think that this book overall was pretty satisfying. I liked the way all of the storylines wrapped up and all the characters and the relationships wrapped up. Overall, I just think it was a good and satisfying conclusion to this pretty fun series. The third book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas, and this was actually my first time reading this book. I think I read Akamath shortly before this one came out, by a few months, and then I picked this one up on release day. I think I started reading it right away, and then I just wasn't in the mood for it, so I put it down, and now it's been 3 years, and I've never finished this book until now. And I'm really happy that I finally finished, and I can finally say that I've completed this series. It's been a goal of mine for years to finally finish it, and I didn't actually put it on my goals for this year, because I kept doing it for the past 2 years, I think, and I just never did it. So this year I finally did it, so maybe I just needed to stop putting it on a TBR, and then I would actually get to it. I think that this one is definitely my second favorite favorite in the series. It goes ACOMAF, ACOWAR, ACOTAR. I feel like ACOTAR is my least favorite purely because of Tamlin, whereas these two books focus on Rhys, which is my favorite. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this book and the conclusion of the series. I think that it was pretty satisfying as well. Like, I wasn't disappointed by this book necessarily. I have a whole reading vlog for this one if you want to go check it up in the cards. I'm really happy with that. You guys can see all my reactions as I'm like finishing this book, which is pretty fun. I feel like I just don't have that much to say about this book in particular. It took me a bit longer to read than ACOMAF, but I did really enjoy it. I'm so happy that I finally read this book. The next book that I read was The Golden Tower by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. This is the final book in the Magisterium series. I've been waiting to finish the series for years, and the reason why is I don't own all of them. I only own the first three, so I was listening to them on audiobook, and I really actually enjoyed the audiobooks. It took Overdrive forever to get the fourth book, and even though they had this fifth book, they just for some reason didn't have the fourth one, and I had requested it forever ago, and they finally got it in, so I read that one in July. I finally got to The Golden Tower this month, and let me tell you, I'm just happy to be done with this series. I don't really have much to say about this book because I don't even know what happened in this book. I don't really know how I feel about anything in regards to this book. It wasn't a bad book. I just kind of feel like by the time we got to this book, I was kind of like over it a little bit. So the ending of this book was pretty like jam-packed with like twists and turns, which was pretty compelling. But before that, I don't really know what was happening. I don't think much happened. I think it was just like kind of like a lackluster finale in my opinion. And this book focuses around like one villain, and he was very annoying. He didn't seem like an interesting villain. He didn't seem like, I don't know. He was just like, I don't know if it's the way that the narrator voiced him or if it's just his actual character. I don't know. He would just come on and I would just start laughing because he was just so over the top and ridiculous and just not believable as a villain. And he just kind of seemed like a joke, honestly, which was kind of really annoying, and so I just wasn't that invested in him being the villain and all the things that he was trying to pull. It was just more hilarious than anything. And I understand that this is like a kid's series, it's middle grade, so I understand that it can be a bit ridiculous at times, but I've read other middle grade books that have way better villains, so this one just, I don't know, it just kind of felt weird. Again, it could have been the way the narrator was narrating it, I don't know, but I don't know, I'm feeling kind of lackluster about it. But overall, I did enjoy this series, and I'm glad that I finally was able to finish it. Okay, so the next three books I don't want to talk too much about because I do have a whole reading vlog dedicated to these three books, but I read 3 romance books. So if you want to check out my vlog where I read all 3 of these, then definitely check up in the cards for them. It's one of my favorite videos that I've ever made, one of my favorite vlogs that I've ever made, and I'd really love if you guys were to go check it out so you can see more of my thoughts on these books. But I read Would Like to Meet by Rachel Winters. This book is about a girl named Evie, and she works for this like TV movie production company, and she's an assistant at this company, and she's hoping for this promotion, but the company might be going under, so if she can't convince the agency's top client, Ezra, to finish this rom-com script, then she might be out of a job. So she has to convince him, and he agrees to do it, but only if she can prove that you can fall in love in real life like you can in the movie. So she sets out on this mission to reenact rom-com meet-cutes in real life to kind of prove to him that you can fall in love like the movies. It was a fun book, not my favorite, but it was enjoyable. It had its moments. It was pretty cute, so this one was fun, but check out the vlog if you want to see more of my feelings on it. And then I read Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This one was amazing. So this book is basically about our main character Chloe Brown, obviously, and she had a near-death experience and she realizes, oh my god, I need to get a life. And so after this near-death experience, she decides to try to get a life list for things to do that scare her. And so she ends up enlisting the help of her superintendent named Red to kind of help her complete this list. And it's just so cute. It's one of the best books that I've read recently and will definitely be on my favorites of the year list. It was just so good. I'm obsessed with it. So if you want to see all of my reactions to this book, definitely watch my vlog because I got pretty emotional and it was just really good. I think I actually filmed my reaction to the end of this book, if I'm not mistaken, so definitely go check out the vlog. And the last one I read for the vlog was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I also really love this one. Like, if you guys can't tell by the way that I tabbed these 2 books, like, I loved them. This one basically follows 2 authors. We follow Augustus, who writes literary fiction, and then January, who writes romance novels. And basically for the summer, they're both staying at these neighboring beach houses, and they're both suffering from writer's block. And they end up patching this deal for the summer where they swap genres. And Augustus is writing romance books, and January is trying to write a literary fic novel, and they're trying to combat the writing block by switching genres. And they end up going on little field trips with each other to help them write these genres, and I'm just I love this book and I want to reread it so badly. This one as well, like I'm just obsessed with them. So like I said, definitely go check out my vlog where I read these 3 books. It's up in the cards. I just loved that vlog so much, and so I hope you guys love it as well. It was just a lot of fun. And then after reading those 3 romance books, I just wanted more romance. I didn't really have any more, and so I ended up picking up The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which is a reread. If you guys have been here all year, I read this one at the beginning of the year and absolutely adored it, and so I decided to reread it on a whim, like very much so on a whim. I mean, I've been wanting to reread it for a while, but my actual decision to pick it up was very like impromptu. I just kind of saw it and was like, yes, I need more romance. So I picked it up, read it in a sitting, and I just love this book a lot if you don't know what it's about. So we follow our main character, Lucy, and she is an assistant at a publishing house. She has a bit of a rivalry with this other guy's assistant within the publishing house. His name is Joshua, and they end up having a rivalry, and then they end up both being up for the same promotion. That was a really bad description, but I love this book so much, and I'm so happy that I reread it, and I can tell that I'm gonna reread it so many times in the future because it is just so good. So then the next 3 books I read were the Vampire Academy graphic novels. So it's basically rereading these so that I could continue reading on the series. I just wanted like a little bit of a refresher. So I also did pick up Blood Promise in August. I just didn't finish it, and I'm putting a pause on it for the month of September since it is the Stranger Things readathon. So we have Vampire Academy, Frostbite, and Shadow Kiss. Unfortunately, these are the only ones that were published, and I'm so sad about it. I love this series so much, and these graphic novels are really good. I love adaptations of books into graphic novels. There is always some missing information, but I think these are my favorite ones. I don't mind the art style. It is a pretty cute art style. I feel like they captured the look of the characters quite well. Oh, my little Mason. He's my favorite. So yeah, I really enjoy them. I feel like it was adapted pretty well. I'm glad that I got around to rereading them. And then the last book's another reread. God, I did quite a few rereads this month, didn't I? My bad. The next book I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I listened to this one on audiobook. I read this book last year shortly after it came out, and so this year I wanted to experience it a little bit differently. So I picked up the audiobook, and I'm so glad that I did. If you guys don't know what this book is about, so we're basically following the first son of America named Alex, and he kind of considers the Prince of Wales, Henry, to be his nemesis. And then there's this royal wedding that Alex has to attend, and there ends up being this bit of a fiasco, this big of a public showdown between him and Henry, and this ends up forcing them to have to pretend to be friends in the public eye to kind of feud off the bad publicity. It's so good. This romance is one of my favorites of all time. It's just so adorable, and I'm really glad that I listened to the audiobook. It was definitely a different experience than reading it physically, but I really enjoyed the audiobook. I feel like the narrator really captured Alex's voice really well, and I really enjoyed his British accent for Henry. I find whenever I read books and I know they have British accents, I still can't read it in a British accent in my head. Maybe it's because I suck at a British accent and I read things in my head in my voice. So I really enjoyed actually hearing Henry's British accent. I really enjoyed this book. I'm glad that I reread it. It was so good, and I loved it a lot. Those were all the books that I read in the month of August. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys read in the month of August because I'd really love to know. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!